Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Hey guys, Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts and entrepreneurs in the e-commerce industry, and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by chronos.agency. If you run a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready to scale and to double your customer lifetime value through retention and lifecycle marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands scale profits with email, SMS, and mobile push while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, The Udi, Elias Skin, and many more. The next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. Now, today's guest is a good friend of mine, Faiysal. Faiysal, how do you pronounce your last name?
My last name. Kothiwala.
Kothiwala. I hate butchering last names. And Faiysal...
at least you can pronounce my first name, bro, because most people can't even do that.
I know. It's I actually have a couple of friends that share your name with a different spelling, and it's pronounced Faiysal back in Malaysia and Singapore. So it's a little bit different.
Different versions of it.
Different versions
of the same.
Faiysal, you are the Chief Bearded Officer and founder of The Beard Struggle. And we've worked together on email and your retention program. And you're one of the most passionate and committed and one of the hardest working people that I know. We've had calls at 11 p.m. your time, and you're based in Canada, and you're still working. And after the call, I remember asking you, what are you going to do next? And you're like, yeah, I'm just going to wrap up a couple more things. And I see you still online in those Slack groups all the way till like midnight. And
well, I could say the same for you, Josh. I always see you online as well.
Well, that's just part and parcel of running an agency. But Faiysal, your background is really interesting. You started the Beard Struggle back in 2015, and I want to kind of unpack your experience a little bit. The Beard Struggle now has 50 full-time employees. Is that still accurate?
Employees and contractors, yeah.
Employees and contractors today.
Yeah.
And you guys run things super efficiently across the different departments. And we talked a little bit about this, bringing in some systems and processes into your department, setting KPIs and all that stuff. You're entering a phase where a lot of e-commerce brands are trying to get to, the professionalization phase of things. And you have an amazing ambassador program. And for those of you guys listening, one of the ambassadors of the Beard Struggle happens to be Hafþór Björnsson, the Mountain. If you guys watch the Game of Thrones, crazy. I would love to start there. How do you get Thor to be an ambassador of your brand? What happened, and what led to that?
So, I think it's more of like here's the thing. We didn't go for Hafþór Björnsson right away. Or we also have his arch nemesis, Eddie Hall, as well as our in our group. So when people think about ambassador marketing, they think about going to the big guy. Let's go to the top guy and let's send him an email, send him a DM, and let's get it done. But we had to build ourselves up to it. It's almost like stepping stones, like stairs that you go up and down. So in hindsight, if we were to do like kind of go directly to Hafþór and we didn't have our own base and we didn't have our social media set up and everything, it wouldn't be possible. He wouldn't look at it twice. Because I actually asked him, I'm like, at one time we actually were at a shoot a few months ago, and one of the topics that came up was like, oh, what did you think? Like, how did you make that decision to go with our brand?
Yeah.
And he had actually told us that, right? So let's back up a little. So we were always kind of, as we were growing, we were trying to, make sure that we have like the best people that can represent our brand. And I think this might help for a lot of people that are kind of starting off and growing their businesses, and they're trying to get into influencer marketing and they don't really know what to do. Well, the easiest thing is to go for anybody. Essentially, if somebody that, when I say anybody, not anybody, but somebody that kind of is trying on social media, who's trying to grow their brand, and you can see some potential in it. Like either their engagement is going up, their followers are going up. Don't look at where the influencer is now. Look at where you think think he or she might be in the future. And a lot of people that we brought in is when we didn't have much of a budget and we didn't really have much revenue coming in. We were kind of going after the micro influencers, right? So we were going after micro influencers and kind of, talking to them, guiding them, telling them what kind of content that we want to see. It was almost like a like a lot of people, what they do, they think social media influencing is I'm going to send you products. I'll pay you $1,000 a post and post this for me. No, because 9 out of 10 times you're going to get something that you cannot use anywhere.
Yeah.
One thing also to remember is when you're getting someone to do something for you, like an influencer or social media creator or whoever, keep in mind where else you can use that media. If it's not media that you can use in scaling up in your ads or something that you can put, ads actually, or in any of your other social media platforms, then that's probably not a good piece of content, because it doesn't matter who they are, they're going to have a capped amount of reach. Even if they have 3 million, 4 million followers, they're probably have an engagement of less, maybe 2%, who knows? So what's more important is that you double down on, can you guys still hear me? I got like a little audio cut. So what you double down on is trying to get that content that you can reuse somewhere else in your paid advertising or your social media, right? Now, once we started getting these guys, and even some of these influencers that we brought on, they had about 20,000, 15,000, 10,000 followers. And now, like 2 years, 3 years later, with our content and them promoting their own things, because these type of people have a growth perception. They think they know they want to grow. And it's really important to find these like-minded people and be able to grow. Like one example I can give you is one of our influencers. His name is Thor, not Hafþór, but another Thor. He had about 33,000 followers when he started, and now he's up to like 200,000. But like that was with our support. We went out and did shoots, and he also did things on his own, where he would go out and get some professionally shot pictures from photographers. They would get he would get some video clips he would make. He would go jump in the ocean and like do a beard. One of his really monumental videos where he went into like the lake and he kind of came out with the whole like his beard kind of flapping up. If you jump in, if you have a beard, this is when you jump in water and you come out, your beard has a lot of water, and when you move your head upwards, you'll have this cool effect. And that video was really monumental for him, but he did that on his own. There was nothing to do with beard related or anything related, right? So it's really important if you're starting off or if you're mid-sized to find these people that you can grow with. But I personally don't believe it. Some people do. And we've done both, right? We've sponsored, bigger athletes, and we've sponsored, smaller ones. But what we found out is when you have that long-term relation and that growth that with them, it's much more profitable as you scale up, because now there will be that sort of customer group that knows your brand for these people. And also it's really important to kind of have a continuously growing relationship where you can kind of lock these contracts in for longer and longer. And it also gives you that sort of trust between them, and also that relationship, right? And any of our influencers that you see that are on our roster right now, we've been working with for 3, 4, 5 years, right? I mean, sometimes they don't work out. Sometimes that's why when you reach out, you have it on your contract, 3-month period, for probationary. If it doesn't work out, they can't give you, and you've exhausted all the ways you can try to prop up the content, and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Move on to the next one and build a relationship around them. So going now, fast forwarding to Hafþór. So we had a good base of influencers, micro and macro, some people that had 1 million, and this is the same process. You can rinse and repeat this over and over again. And we had this whole mainframe built of our core guys. And then when you went up to Hafþór and, you were like, hey, we sent out an email, right? We sent out an email and he responded, right? Some people think, oh, these guys don't respond. Sometimes they do. And he responded and he's like, and then, and in conversation, when I told you, I asked him why he joined with their brand. He's like, you know what? The first thing I did was I looked up your page and I saw that, you guys were cool. You had nice images, you had nice products, and you had, I think at that time we had 200,000 followers. And I was like, yeah, this could be a cool brand I work with. And then, once that happened, we just kept talking and, agreed on some terms and, what happened. And then again, like, it's really important to make sure that we actually have a specific dedicated person that deals with all our influencers or all our ambassadors in terms of like what we need in terms of content. Hey, like this month's push is this, Carbon X heated beard brush, and all that content that's coming out is going to be specific for that campaign. What that also helps with is, just in case if right now with the supply chain problem, you guys are getting stockouts, you don't want to focus on, you don't want your influencers focusing on products that are out of stock, because that doesn't do anything for you. So you want to make sure you have like an email or a guideline sent out to them to like, and, be available, right? Be available to them, because these guys, you got to think of them more, they don't really work for you because, it's not, you can't have that relationship with them, right? It's more of like your partners, right? And I think Chronos does that really well when you guys work with your clients. You make it, you call them partners, you don't call them clients.
Exactly.
But little shout out for Chronos there. Just kidding.
Thank you.
So that's really important, is to constantly have someone available for them. Either whether it's approving content, giving them guidelines how to improve. That's really important, because if you keep getting content that you don't like and you can't use it, then why would you keep beating your head on? Why would you keep beating your head on it? There needs to be ways of constant improvement, constant growth. And when you have a few of them, you'll find out that if you find these people, they're very competitive. Like me in general, I'm a very competitive person, and I guess like attracts like. They're competitive within each other. Like they're all about helping each other and growing together. And whenever we have meetups and groups, they're all cool. But they have a competitive drive. Like, how can I be better than this guy? And what can I do to be not be better than this guy, but more what can I do to be better and improve, right? So that also comes with that certain type of people that you're going for. And that also revolves around how you set that relationship to move in the direction you want it to move, right?
And I just wanna give a quick shout out to Thor Roslin. Went from 30K followers to 200.
He was at 30K followers, and I think he's
crazy.
Just hitting 200K now.
Yeah, I think he's just past 200. 204. Just checked.
Yeah, 204.
Thor Roslin. Guys, go check out his profile.
And me and him we're friends. Like, I even if we didn't have this business, that's how your relationship be as friends.
Yeah.
Like I'll call him up and you're like, hey bro, I'm just working on something, I need your opinion. And then we'll go on and talk about everything that's going on in our life, and he'll tell me about his kids and everything like that. And that's how your relationship should be with everyone. And I have that relationship with Hafþór, whether any of our other influencers, because essentially it's all about relationships at this point, right?
Right.
And when you have that sort of go easy, it's not like the end of the world mentality, then you're able to come out of this point where you can actually create new innovative ideas, create new innovative products, create new innovative videos, right? So I think one thing that also sets us apart is if you check out our videos that we do with the Vikings and everything like
fantastic.
That. It's from these areas of like, hey, I had an idea, let's do this. Well, let's get a writer, let's write this, and then boom, they'll come out. So I think that's the number one thing, is that don't pay your influencers per post. Try to establish a relationship, an ongoing thing, and let them know that this is not a part-time thing. I want to any of these relationships. My goal is, anytime we bring anybody on, is I want to be your partner for the next 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever it is. And even if we're not a part of our this brand anymore, we're still friends. We can still talk, right? And I think any basis of any relationship should be on that, the way you do business, or the way that you are. That's
I agree.
Yeah,
it's so cool. profile says I shit lightning. I shit lightning. That everyone else has a really serious tag. I think Hafþór's the Mountain. That's his nickname.
Yeah.
John. Oh, you have Juji Mufu on that. Oh, right. That ran on last year.
Juji Mufu
and Thor's like I shit lightning.
Yeah.
Juji, how? Right. Talk to me about that relationship. Juji Mufu. How is he like? Is he actually like the way he is on the videos and stuff?
Yeah. No, he is like that. He has a lot of energy, definitely. But again, that comes down to, and he's a super nice guy. He's a super friendly, nice guy. He's awesome. And like, even with him, we have that relationship going, right? And also another thing is that, once you pick up a bigger influencer, it's a lot easier to pick up other ones, right? Because now you have the credibility to your snowballs, right? So as a word of advice to anybody that's either starting off or thinking about going to an influencer sort of way of doing business, always start off with people that you can build a brand with, and then you can, as you grow, as your revenue increases, your profits increase, always look to grow that side of it, to get somebody that's fits the brand. Don't get, because we made the mistake, right? So last year we started adding all kinds of. I learned from my mistakes. Yeah. And, it always goes back to my one belief that, that's how it should be. Any relationship should be framed like that. And if your idea is to kind of go all out and just get every influencer, it's not going to work out 9 out of 10 times, I think.
Faiysal, how do you manage these relationships? At some point, you have on your site, on the ambassadors page, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 influencers, and you have
there's actually
a couple more.
There's actually more because we haven't really updated that section of the website yet.
Exactly.
We have one individual staff that's dedicated to that.
There you go.
Managing that relationship. Initially, when I started, it was me, right? And
right.
A lot of the relationships I still manage at a point where it's more. I like to know what's going on, but
of course,
at the end of the day, there's somebody that's in charge of those relationship management, like day-to-day stuff, like new products that are going to go out, what the campaign's going to be, what that email's going to be that's going out to them. All that's handled by one designated person, and that person also takes care of our social media. Like if that's something you guys are looking to do,
right?
There's a overlap in sort of social media management, because if you're paying someone just to do social media management, that's not really a full-time job. It's not really, it doesn't really make sense for them to be paying them to post, right? And this is getting to the conversation. So that's why if you're looking for a hybrid person who runs your social media, but is also trying to bring in new influencers and also manage those relationships, now that becomes a full-time thing, right?
Makes sense.
So
what would that person's title be in that case
for that position?
I
believe it's I can't remember. I think we made this up ourselves. Influencer manager, social media influencer manager probably.
I just want to latch into that point, that the fact that you made up that role, I presume that's part based off what the company needs and part based off the person's strengths.
Exactly. I mean, anything in your company, a lot of the times when it comes to e-commerce, you're going to find out there's not one cookie cutter word that really fits anything.
There isn't.
So we just make it up. I'll give you an example. We needed somebody to formulate our products, and I said, let's hire a cosmetic scientist. That's the title. We created it, and we made sure that they fit all the blocks, that they have a science degree and they're a scientist, and we made that. So a lot of times you're going to find in e-commerce is because it's so new. Like you'll even find it in a lot of these forums where when it's going to say like what industry are you in, and you can't really find that industry, and the closest you can find is like retail or something, and you're like, you'll never be able to. Because it is such a new industry that there's not really titles. Now there are actually. You'll see like social media coordinator or marketing, what do you call it? I guess there's media buyer, media, paid media agent, whatever it is, right? Email marketing.
Yeah.
There's new roles that, and I guess in Chronos, Josh, you probably do the same thing, right?
Yep.
Wherever the need is.
We kind of do, especially for new roles where you have no prior experience on whether it even exists in the first place. So what I tend to do in situations like that is I would build what we call a job scorecard, and it would in the scorecard it would define what the purpose of the role is. It may not have a title, but it's going to define what the role is supposed to do and accomplish, and the KPIs that measure the success of that role, the objectives and responsibilities of that role, and then the skill sets that are needed, and it's it's associated score. Like we score it between a 1 to 5. Like for instance, for a copywriter, you need to have extremely good, well, obviously copywriting skills. So that's a 5, right?
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily need to be super analytical. And so that can be scored at a 3, where it's just acceptable.
Yeah.
You're not world class.
Can you send me that after? I would love to see it.
For sure, yeah.
Because I think that's
absolutely
a really interesting thing that we're not doing, but I think we can. So you're always learning something new.
Exactly. I mean, that's one way of kind of circumventing the whole idea of, like, I don't know what title this fits, and I'll bring that to our recruiting partners externally and internally. We have two full-time recruiters, and I'll ask them, so what do you think about this? Does this even exist as a role? And sometimes they're going to go like, no, these are 2 separate roles. And I'll be like, okay, so let me split them up. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
And you go like, yep, that's something I can take to the market and start looking for candidates. So that's often the process of learning, especially as entrepreneurs, where we kind of think that, this is easy. If I were to do it, I 100% can make it happen.
Yeah.
But there are 2 issues with that. One, we often underestimate the work that's needed. And 2, we often overestimate the availability of talent that's in the marketplace. And sometimes people take a certain path in their career where they're super specialized in a certain aspect of function, and that doesn't give them the exposure to the other parts of the job that you need. Let's talk a little bit about your background, Faiysal. Before Beard Struggle, so you started Beard Struggle in 2015. What did you do before that, and what gave you the idea to start a men's grooming company?
Yeah, so before that, it was actually the first time. Before that, I was a purchasing clerk at a healthcare facility where, we were buying, medical products. Like I was essentially the clerk that just looked over if the prices were okay. Like it was more of like I would say more of an administrative role. And before that, I was actually a forklift driver. And the reason why I'm mentioning before that is because now that we have warehouses and 2 warehouses in Canada and UK, those skills came in handy, right? So
do you still have a license?
Yeah. Well, I don't have a license anymore, but I was still driving the forklift. Like I was the first guy, like, because so to make this make more sense in context, is that I started the business in my parents' garage, right? Essentially, there's pictures of it. There's like a basement, and there's like a garage next to it, and we started kind of like in there. So when we went into a warehouse, there weren't really people that were working there that had the skills of like forklift driving or anything like that, except for me. So at the beginning, I was be the only forklift driver in the warehouse, and then we hired more people to do that slowly. But no, so my background comes nothing in when it comes to e-commerce or running a business or anything. Like I don't have the technical know-hows or anything. It was more of like I had a dream. I had a dream that I wanted to do something that I'd feel like I'm making a difference, and I was solving a problem, or I was helping in some way, whether helping someone, with a problem. And more than that, I wanted to have something that I could have the freedom and, to do whatever I want to do and be able to travel and be able to kind of like enjoy. I think now that I think about it, the number one goal was probably something that would make me happy, right? To kind of go to work, because when I was working the job before, the beer struggle, I was, not the best employee. I was going in late, falling asleep at my desk. I wasn't you wouldn't want to hire me if I was in sort of those type of roles, right?
Yeah.
I was that character. But with that also came, I had a lot of sort of creativity as all these ideas I wanted to do. And, one day just kind of, I was buying these books and I was watching these classes and these courses, these videos online and learning how to do things. And at the same time, there was Shopify that just came up and I was dragging and dropping things on the website. And at that time, I didn't know what paid advertising was or influencer management or anything, right? I just liked posting memes on Instagram and and a bunch of people would like it, right? And you could actually see, if you go to the Beer Struggle Instagram right now, you can actually see a lot of that kind of carrying over from when it started, where, I had a common belief where one thing I think brands do really wrong these days is they use social media as a selling tool. It's not really that. It's, people don't come on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook to buy a product.
Correct,
right?
yeah.
If they want to buy a product, they'll go to Amazon or they'll go to Google and they'll search it, right? They're on Instagram because they're bored. They're in that state of they want to be entertained, they want to laugh, they want to share, they want to share something with someone, or they want to, learn something new, right? That's the only point. They're not there to buy your product. So anybody thinking that, I'm just going to post a bunch of pictures on my social media and something's going to happen, you're not going to grow. You're not going to get people to like you. You're not going to get people to buy from you, right? So you want to give them some sort of value, whether it's the form of humor, some education, or in the form of, something they can share with somebody, right? And what that does is that will almost set your social media on fire, right? That'll be like, oh yeah, this is a cool page. I want to see more of this. I want to laugh more. I want to share more stuff with my wife or my girlfriend, whoever it is, right? Or I want to learn more about this stuff. So I'm going to hit them a follow, and I'm going to be in their funnel, right? In their whatever. So, that's why people follow you. They don't follow you because you have the best products or anything like that. Like that's very rare, and you're not going to really be able to grow your reach. And you have to work with the algorithm, right? Like at the same time, that's really important, right? So people, follow you because they like you or you make them laugh or something like that. And that's what I believe personally, how you should be running your Instagram or your TikTok or your Facebook or whatever YouTube or whatever it's used for, right? Is that you should be giving at least some education or some laughs or something. So that's kind of what we did in our strategy. And that's what was helping us at that time. People were following us, liking us, and like, make sure to keep it also on brand. That's really important. Like we were doing a lot of beard memes. We weren't doing like a bunch of random memes. Like now we do more sort of Viking related stuff. It hits a larger audience and stuff.
Yeah,
we're doing beard stuff. So what would happen is like, who's going to follow you? Who's going to share that stuff with their wife? Like, or who's going to share that with? Who's going to comment on that? It's not going to be non-beard people, right? It just makes sense. So at that time, I didn't know anything. I just knew that our follower count was growing and we were gaining more traction. So, and then I was doing sort of market research, kind of like finding out like, not market research, but I would say talking to these people. I was actually DMing them, each and individual one of these guys, like people who showed interest would be like people who commented on your post or something, right? I would just message them and reach out to them and be like, hey, you struggling with your beard? Are you like, do you have any problems? Like, yeah. Some people like, my beard gets dry sometimes. I'm like, me too. And that's why I created this product. And I think you guys should try it. I think you should try it. And then I would send them a link to the Shopify link where I had, got this product created, and I created this product, and it was pictures that I shot in my living room.
Right.
And, I would have that conversation where there'd be like some sort of trust built, and people would actually go and buy this, right? Buy this product. It was that simple. And that's where I got my first customers, was where I didn't know anything. Like, I knew how to run a meme page, and I knew how to talk to people, where, I just go and ask them questions and get them to see if they want to try our product. And they would.
That's fascinating. Just between your background and, in your own words, being a terrible employee, to starting a project that you're just curious and interested in, to scaling that project and taking that project beyond the kind of like a side hustle type of a thing to the business that it is today.
Yeah.
What changed? Was it intentional that you've built what you've built today, or was that just by momentum or chance?
I think it was a little bit of both, right? Because see, when I started the business, a lot of people, what they think about is that I'm going to start a company, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to do all that. But like, the problem with me is, maybe I would have gone that route, but when I started, I actually was not living. I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of changed into, and I needed to create something, and I wanted to have like some sort of way that I would be able to have freedom and be solving a problem.
Yeah.
So I was actually about $20,000 in debt, and that's from credit cards. And it was like bad spending. Like, it was, going out to eat and going out with my friends, and, just in that way of, I was wasting a lot of money back then. Right?
Yeah.
And I was, and I had to work, because if I didn't work, who would pay those debts? Right.
Right.
So at that same time, I started on Shopify. And I think one thing about Shopify, it's easy, is because it's only $79 a month when you start, right? And you can do a lot of the stuff that you want to do and put your product up, and then, connect your bank account, and it would work, right? If you can sell some products. So that's what was kind of like, I had to keep my job, and I also had to keep working at the Beer Struggle. But, it's also like a safety thing. Like, oh, you always think like, if this doesn't work out, right? Like, I get it. You want to go all in, but I'm not really a fan of going all in right away. And it touches to your point where you say side hustle. Yeah, it was my side hustle, essentially, where I would work from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 p.m., get some food into me, start working from 4:30 all the way to midnight or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and be building a brand, right? Like, you have your 9 to 5, and that's where a lot of people get stuck. Well, I have obligations, I have family, I have rent to pay. Well, did you have $20,000 in debt? And then you also had to pay rent, and did you have all that? Because, I mean, these are, the end of the day, there are excuses, right?
Yeah.
These are excuses. And I think a lot of that comes from, I don't know where it comes from, but for me, it was more about, stop making excuses, and just do the work, right? It's important. Like, just do the work, and the rest of it will start getting taken care of, right? And doing the work is doesn't mean working on your business. Doing the work means that you have to actively engage in trying to learn new skills, whether it's email marketing, whether it's, running paid advertising, running Google ads, whatever it is. You have to learn a little bit of everything. Like, for me, the one key advice I would say, for me, like, if you're going to take one advice from me, I would say that is, before you start looking for an agency, or before you start looking for someone to do something for you, always take it on a test run yourself and learn how everything works. Because once you learn how things work, you're better able to understand if the person or the agency, whether it's the media buyer, is performing the best they can perform. And that's where you should also have a very strategic partnership. When I think, again, when it comes to Chronos, is being able to speak the language. That's really important. Speaking the language. Because if your email agency is telling you something else and you don't have no clue about what they're talking about,
you're screwed.
Then you're screwed. There's nobody. You can throw as much money as you want to it as possible. You're not going to get the results. So again, do the work. learn as much as you can about it. And then as an entrepreneur, you got to think about the vision. So you find somebody that can take that on for you, which will allow you to focus on other parts of the business and growing that part. When you find that part, find someone that can do that job either as good as you or almost as good as you, or even better than you, right? There's 3 levels to that. And give that over.
And now you know what good looks like. And that's super important. I realized that hiring for a function, or hiring an agency for a role that you don't know what good looks like is really difficult, because they can bring any sort of metrics and results and tell you that it's good, it's great, and you wouldn't be able to tell. And that's a really good point. Now, Faiysal, you started the business through pure hard work and hustle, and I see some similarities in those stories. I started my business while having a full-time job, a full-time internship, juggling courses in school, and doing a couple of other things on the side as well, and building Chronos at the same time. Now, what drove me was the little wins and successes that kind of affirmed that I was on the right path. So what I did was, at the beginning, I wasn't getting paid. I was just pitching the idea to a bunch of different people. And my pitch was pretty simple. It was, hey, I just learned this new skill. It's pretty cool. It's called email marketing. And if you're doing it right, you should be making 10 to 20% of your revenue, well, back then, through email. If you're not, you have nothing to lose. Why not give me a shot? I'll do it for you for free, no cost at all. All I ask for in return is to give me the space and time to experiment, and give me a testimonial if you felt that I did a good job. And wow. tell your friends about me. So that's what I did for a good 4 to 6 weeks, just doing that, not getting paid, and clocking in like crazy hours. I was waking up at like 5 a.m., sleeping at 11 p.m. When I was absolutely just destroyed, and just repeating the cycle over and over again till I couldn't take it no more. And that's what you did. You worked from 7:30 to 3:30, started work again from 4:30 till midnight, and repeating the cycle over and over again. I think that's what people don't realize, is that the number of hours that it takes to get something off the ground.
Yep.
People see the stuff that you've built today. They don't see the stuff that you've put in years ago.
You always have to hustle harder at the beginning, and you have to always be the hardest working person in the room. At the beginning, you still do, but later on, later on you have team members you can rely on, and then you focus more on the vision and the direction of and where you see it going. Right?
Exactly.
That's where you start. But at the beginning, you're putting in the rough, a lot of the hard hours, your long hours, and you have to be the hardest working person on your team.
Absolutely.
And even if your team includes just you, you have to be the hardest one.
Yep. No excuses. Yeah. Yep. And so here's my question, Faiysal, what drives you, and what drove you back when you first got started versus what drives you today? How has it changed over time?
I think it's pretty much has probably stayed the same. Like, I think the number one thing that, I'm always doing and I'm always trying to do is learn, right? Learn as much as possible. And I'm always, a big fan of the power of one, being 1% better every single day. In your business or in your life, in anything, right? Like, how can I be better? And that's something I have a core value, sort of in our core value of our team, is like, even when a piece of work is submitted for approval or anything, like, hey, first question, was this 1% better than the last time you did it? If the answer is no, then you go back to the drawing board and make it 1% better, right? Yeah. And it's about constant improvements, right? Little improvements every little day, little improvements. You'll start seeing big improvements, right? And touching back to kind of what Josh was saying, those little wins are important to keep you motivated, right?
Yeah.
Like when I got that first sale after DMing somebody and yo, this shit works. I was like, yo, this shit actually works. Like, you could do this. And I was just like, you can make money while doing this. And, you know, you're doing good for the world and you're solving a problem. And that just kind of got my mind running, right? I'm like, there's more we can do. There's, you know, and now there's so many ways. And I think now there's bots for Instagram DMing. Now you can set up and all kinds of things, right? And Messenger and, I mean, that's where the grassroots approach, and I'm curious to see if that still works. Like, you know, if somebody wants to try it out and shoot me or Josh a message to see if it works, let us know.
What's the best way to
strategy?
Yeah, I know. That's a lost art. That's a real hustle. I mean, just DMing everyone. What's the name of the tool? Do you know of any? Like this auto DMing tools.
I think ManyChat does it. ManyChat has this new feature with I don't know how well it works, but it's an Instagram bot, not a bot, but a Instagram automation. That's the word, not a bot. Automation, where it allows you to kind of set up. We just actually set this up the other day, where it kind of gives you 3 menu items, and you can actually, you know, choose which one you want to text, and then there's like a canned response that goes out. You could also have another thing is, like, if you're gonna go down the DMing route, Instagram, it's an old thing. I don't know if people still do it. If you still want to go, there's a feature on Instagram that lets you save your responses. So there's like hotkeys where you can just paste that and it'll be a one response that goes out. But it's more. There's a lot of different ways now that, you know, you can reach people now. I think SMS has been a huge one for us, and it seems to be a big one for everybody. And that ties into email marketing.
That's right.
As well. And I think you guys offer that service as well.
That's right. Check out chronos.agency to learn more. Faiysal, what's one tool in your business that you couldn't live without? Software tool, anything that you personally use? I
think Josh, this is a loaded question here. Klaviyo. I think that's what he wants to hear. No, Klaviyo is probably. I mean, I think it's probably it's still email. When people say email is dead, it's not dead. Because you know, it's literally the way to actually bring back your customers, retain your customers, and as well as set up new customers to join in. Because I think it comes down, like, one of our most important flows, and I think it's one of the ones you guys set up. It's the one that gives you a coupon, right? You get a 15% discount, but that's not the coupon, because not everybody converts from the top email, right? So after that, there's going to be emails that go out to you telling you about, you know, social proof, reviews. There's going to be emails that are going to tell people about the brand, emails that are going to tell about, like, our charity initiatives that we're running as a brand, you know, other ways. Like, it gives you the whole picture, and it's almost like a slow, like, 7-day approach to it. Like, you know, warms the customer up, gets them ready to buy. That itself is worth gold, right? And it's a very important, even if you run paid advertising, you're like, hey, I'm just direct to consumer and I want to bring the customer in. Yes, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table there by not getting that email, not getting that SMS from them. I mean, that phone number from them, because you don't know when people are going to be buying, right? They might be, maybe they may have clicked on your ad because it's Father's Day in June, and you'd be surprised, people plan that way ahead. They'll be like saving posts. They're going to be like getting on the email list for all the brands that they like. And when they're ready before Father's Day to buy, when they see that email with your irresistible offer, they are going to convert, right? And
correct. That's
why email is probably one of those tools that we don't want to, you know, I would say software, whatever you call it.
It's
live without.
Free. It's free retargeting, essentially. Or really cheap retargeting.
And no, definitely. And then I think that's also when it comes to scaling up, right? Scaling, you're going to need emails, you're going to need your SMS, you're going to need those are the two main things you're going to really need, right?
You need it all lined up to make sense on the acquisition front with costs going up and all that.
Yeah, more than ever now, right? I mean, we've seen our acquisition costs double, right, since last year.
Double, yeah,
and it just keeps on going up. And I think I read an email from somebody that said like its acquisition at paid advertising is at an all-time high right now. Like it wasn't harder than it is now to acquire a new customer.
Yep.
And that should scare everybody, right? Because your life has just become harder. But on the flip side, you just have to become a better marketer, right? You have to be doing all these things where it's like trying to get that email as soon as possible, and setting them on a journey of, being able to ease their mind into buying. Also, figure out how to increase your AOV with giving out order bumps or free gifts or whatever way you can like with your tactics, increase your cart value, because that's going to help your acquisition cost that has just jumped up. Easier to take it on the chin, right? Because if you're selling a product that's gonna, if you're selling a product that's $40 and you're paying $35 to acquire a customer, you're losing money, right? And I think
exactly
the whole, this would be the e-commerce profit or the e-commerce loss podcast if we did that one.
Yeah, 100%. So, and it's that's interesting to think about, because the offset of that the cost through email and SMS plays a huge part in the sustainability of that scaling effort, which gives you the opportunity to kind of lower your need for capital, because it kind of rolls back into acquiring the next customer.
No, for sure. I mean, that's your number one thing, because again, using the same example, let's just say that you had your email and your SMS put into play and it was wonderful. Even if you paid $35 for that $35 product and you lost money at the first order, you could have their email and an SMS or whatever it is, and you could be selling them the next product. So a lot of people you see do this, where they give you a sample kit or a sample product, and it's almost they consider it a loss leader, or they're making very minimum profit, break even, whatever it is, right? Because they know that they'll be able to convert either a percentage of that to make a bigger order. And that bigger order is going to be subsidizing that first purchase. Because the second one, you didn't really pay anything to bring that customer back, really. It was an SMS or 5 cents SMS or an email, right? And that's what you essentially paid to bring them back. It was nothing. So that's when it comes to owning your own traffic becomes really important, if that's the approach you're going to go. And with rising ad costs, that is going to be more crucial than ever to have that dialed in, like making sure that your emails, don't put out emails for the sake of it. You make sure your emails are converting. Are they converting at, 10%, 15%, 20%? Well, how do we make this? And I think nobody's better than Josh at this, explaining how your mainframe works when you're sending out an email, when you're testing it.
Absolutely. It's a process, man. It's not a set at one time and that's it kind of a thing. It's a study of the data and metrics that makes that makes a difference, and then kind of shifting gears and course correcting along the way. A lot of people ask me about best practices and what's your go-to framework for a welcome series or a banner cut series. And there is a kind of go-to starting point based on like many iterations of testing. But what ends up happening is that for every brand, it kind of changes and shifts based on the situation, how long the consideration period is, what the current event of the month is like right now, what products are being pushed out. That all plays a part in how automations are being built and what needs to change along the way. But we can go on and on with that. That's what I nerd out about. The beard struggle. Faiysal, what's next? What's in store for you? What can people expect in the coming years?
Interesting. Next month, we actually are expanding into the skincare line. So we are launching a brand.
Fun.
It's called the Skin Struggle. And we're tapping into sort of the men's grooming industry, where it's coming to our skincare creams and moisturizers, face washes and exfoliators, and cleansing bars, things like that, where it's we can provide sort of the same value or even more. For that, we hired a cosmetic scientist, as I said earlier, and she's been working on it for almost a year now, and we're it's a little bit over a year now, and it's a process, but we're finally excited about kind of what we created in terms of the products, the branding, the everything, and we're really excited to kind of see that through now. So we have that coming for the next month, actually. So
fantastic.
Yeah, in terms of year, it's the same thing. We're looking to kind of, we're taking a different approach this year. Like last year, what we did was kind of launch a lot of products and kind of see what stuck. But this year, we're kind of launching products with a motive. And I think that's something you can kind of take from my learning experience, is that don't just launch a product for the sake of launching a product. Make sure that product is actually something that is innovative, or, and it's easier said than done, because I know how hard it is. But don't try to launch a product for the sake of launching, and launch it because there's something. Because imagine you start a brand and your idea is that you're gonna launch I don't know what it is, skincare. I mean, even skincare, right? Yeah. And you're just launching products. You haven't really researched it. What other companies are doing, what things that you can do better. Like, is there ingredients that you can use that are like more innovative or actually work? And finding your angle on that, right? So that's something for us as well. You're going to see a lot less product launches, but you're going to see product launches with more
intention to it.
Yeah, more behind it. Like this is actually a good product, right?
Gotcha. That makes sense. And with the massive following that you have absolutely no issue with testing things out and getting feedback from your customers, and pretty quickly too. So, Faiysal, this is the end of the podcast. But before we end, what's your advice for people listening? If you could, I'm going to phrase it in a different way. If you could send out a push notification to every single mobile phone in the world, what would that push notification say or contain?
Well, it depends. Is it cold traffic, or is it people that already know our brand?
All of it. Broad targeting, like global, right? Every single mobile phone. What would it say?
What would it say? I don't know. You kind of caught me here, man.
It's kind of like it's a play on the question that Tim Ferriss often asks on his podcast. If you had a giant billboard in the middle of the busiest highway in the country, what would it say?
Well, I would say, if you're trying to get the most attention, I would say something really polarizing. Something that's polarizing and would be, at the same time, it would add some sort of value to them, right? And if it's like something that's going out to everyone, it would be more or less, I would try not to be, trying to push my product or anything like that. I would just try to make someone laugh, or tell a joke, or, something that would pique their interest. Because I have that, same approach, that it would be something that's like, because you got to think about it as long term, right? Because you send this message out and, there's you don't know what the interest is, right? But you want them to click. Like, what are you trying to do with this notification? You're trying to get them to your website, right? So how do you try to click that link, and then when you get them, try to get as many of those emails and SMSs as possible.
That's a good approach. But what if it's non-work related? What if it has nothing to do with your brand, your business, and it's just a one-way message or advice for people?
One-way message.
What would you say to the world?
I would say just keep hustling, and good times are near, and to keep doing what you're doing and never give up. Follow your dreams.
I love that.
I'm just throwing really like punchlines now. I don't know what I would say, to be honest, bro. But
that's good. I think it comes from within.
Always keep learning. I'm just gonna keep throwing punchlines until this podcast ends now.
No, that's good. I'll tell you why, because that's often a gut response, right? A gut response to like what's in your subconscious, like the inner narrative in your mind, the stuff that you were telling yourself. That kind of becomes advice for people. So Faiysal, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show. For people listening, interested, connect with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
You can email me at Faiysal@thebeerstruggle.com. And if you're an agency or somebody trying to contact me, make sure your email is really good, because I will delete it. Spend time copywriting that shit.
Hell yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, definitely. If you want to reach me, Faiysal@thebeerstruggle.com is gonna be the easiest way. I do check my emails every day. So
perfect.
Yeah.
And go check out thebeerstruggle.com for you guys listening. And thank you so much. We'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.